Okay. So yes, this game went pretty much how we thought, right? I mean, the score was a little bit lower. I think we both predicted us a score. I think it was like, in the 30s
In the 30s, yeah.
and had them around 14 or 17, something like that. But yeah, man, another excellent game by Lamar. Hollywood held onto the ball this time. Actually, that was a great diving catch, man.
Yeah,
I predicted Hollywood to have 2 touchdowns. He almost had 2. That diving catch was a great play. It was a great play, and yeah, there's no real surprises, man. The Denver tried to sell out, stopping the run, which is smart, right? I would do that same game plan because this offense and Greg Roman has shown or hasn't shown that they're willing to throw the ball really at all. So yeah, I thought that was a good plan, but now they're a little bit more willing to throw the ball. And what we're finding out is wide receivers are just running wide open, uncovered this whole time. Like who knew? Who knew if you sell out to stop the running back and the quarterback together to stop them from running, and you focus all on that, who knew that there'd be so many players just running wild in the secondary?
Yeah, and also what we learned is that Lamar passing the ball should not be plan B. It shouldn't take a game like that to show you that. You should just kind of know that. But now, especially in the NFL today, that should not be plan B. There's a lot of talk about Denver selling out to stop the run and how they kind of they stuff the run for a good portion of the game. And I don't really think that's the case. I mean, not that they didn't sell out to stop the run, but what stopped the run is Lamar wasn't running and you benched your best running back and gave 18 carries to Latavius Murray. That's what stopped the run.
Yeah.
If Tyson Williams was out there, they would have been running all game like they normally do.
So there were talks that his I'm not sure if it's soreness in his back or some back injury was kind of the reason that limited him from running the ball. Like, do you think there's anything to that?
I don't know. I'm sure he is a bit sore. He's taken more hits than any quarterback in the league so far.
Yeah.
But somebody asked him about that in the post-game press conference, how he felt. And he said he felt good. He said, "Did I look good?" Kind of joking around because obviously he looked great. He had a great game.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think it was something that kind of prevented him from running. I think he just felt like throwing the ball. I mean, Hollywood, we mentioned, had a great diving catch for a touchdown. He followed that up with another 30-some yard reception on the next drive. Prochet came out, had the best day of his career, 5 catches, 74 yards. Duvernay contributed. He spread the ball around quite a bit to the receivers. And they had a little bit of a field day. It was the second 300-yard game of Lamar's career, and the outcome was never really in doubt. I mean,
no,
Teddy was hanging tough with him for a little while, and then he got knocked out of the game with concussion. And I mean, everybody knew Drew Lock wasn't doing nothing.
First of all, I'm a little disappointed in our viewers, man. Like I thought they were going to hit us up more about Prochet. As much as they fought us on Prochet this offseason, I mentioned Prochet last week after the Lions game. Nobody really talked about it. I thought he had a big catch on a third down conversion, right? And this is what we talked about. This is what people envision for Prochet, making his team is, those reliable hands on third down. He did that last week. It was after the Hollywood drop. And I was just like, hey, that's what folks are talking about right there. That was a good play. And he did it again this week. He has some big chunk plays. And look, man, like, good for him. He's doing a lot more than I thought he would do. Now, look, when Bateman comes back and Boykin comes back, I don't know, what his role is going to be, but
yeah, it's going to be on the inactive list most likely. I think
maybe, yeah. And Duvernay, and again, man, Duvernay's another one. We didn't really believe in Duvernay. He's been playing solid so far this year. So I mean, I'm happy for both of them. Also happy for Owe. Owe is making us look wrong so far, man. He's playing really well.
Yeah. So with James Prochet, I think we talked about this earlier. It's kind of the vicinity to the argument, right? I think we've been arguing about Prochet and Duvernay and these guys for a little over a year now. Since they were drafted, And so, yeah, you go out and you have 5 catches for 74 yards, and it seems like a big deal. It's not really a big deal. Like that's a that's a day that receivers have routinely.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, it was his first day of having anywhere near that kind of production in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah.
And James Prochet was just the kind of an off-season fascination for Ravens fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but the real games are going now, and the real players are playing, and that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about Prochet anymore because Hollywood's out there and Watkins is out there and Mark Andrews is out there, and those guys weren't there during training camp and in preseason. And like I said, when Bateman comes back and Boyd can come back, and they've already said there's a good chance they play Monday, I expect Prochet to be inactive at that point.
Yeah, because like I said, the thing with Prochet is, man, really happy for him, man. He worked really hard this offseason. You know, great hands. Well, I mean, look, he has really good hands. I'm not gonna call it great. He had to drop in that game too, but really good hands, and it's all good. But the thing that he can't do as well as Boykin is the thing that this team covets the most is blocking.
Yeah.
He can't block the way Boykin blocks. And with our O-line in shambles right now, and we picked all of our running backs came from off the street. The one that we had on the team, they don't want to play. All right. They want some guys that can really block, especially on the outside. So I think Boykin's going to go right back in there, right? If for nothing else, but to give him some more blocking. So, but we'll see. Look, that's we'll find that out later. But that was a good game for him yesterday, so I'm happy for him for that.
Yeah.
Now on the defensive side, I mentioned Owe, great job. Also, Tyus Bowser got 2 sacks, man. Like he's our highest paid edge rusher on the team, and he finally kind of broke out a little bit. And even Justin Houston got his first sack. We need Justin Houston to get 6 more sacks so our man Living Legend can get his LBHT Crew shirt. Yes. Or a shirt from his choosing from our store, lbhtshow.com/shop. All right. What are you going to say, B?
No, I was going to say it was a good performance for Baltimore. It was the kind of game that we said that they needed to have, particularly on defense. I mean, there were still some missed tackles and guys getting open over the middle. But I mean, they gave up 7 points, right? They shut Denver's offense down. Now, I mean, obviously Denver was banged up. They were missing a couple of starters on their O-line. They were missing Jerry Jeudy. They were missing KJ Hamler, a few other players. But so was Baltimore, right? Baltimore's got a lot of injuries, and Denver was 3-0 with the majority of those injuries. So the defense went out. They finally kind of stepped up and did their job the way that you expect the Ravens defense to do it. So that was a nice performance from them. Nice to see. The thing we didn't mention on offense was the guy who kind of took Tyson Williams' place in the lineup, Le'Veon Bell, and it was a big deal pregame, and then he got 4 touches, 4 rather uninspiring touches, and no catches.
Yeah, Harbaugh was not happy about that face mask that he did. They didn't call it, did they?
No, they didn't, because they actually called holding on Baltimore on that play.
That's ridiculous. T. Martin and Keith Williams looking really good right now. I think they're the big reason why the pass game looks good this year. It's hard to quantify that, right? It's hard to tell how much he impacted them because is T. Martin the reason why Hollywood broke out, or is AB the reason why Hollywood broke out?
Or is he really breaking out because you've seen this kind of play from him the last 2 years? You even saw it in his rookie year, even though he was hurt for the majority of his rookie year. You saw big games like that.
He was looking great at the end of last year. Like he's starting out the way he looked, even in a Buffalo game, right? He looked good in the playoffs, and he's picked up where he left off. Lamar is looking great this year. That's not because of T. Martin and Keith Williams. And again, I'm not trying to downplay those coaches, but it's just hard to tell how much of an impact. Like they just got there and they got hyped up, and then we're assuming that they're the reasons why everybody's looking good.
Yeah, and I'm sure they play some part in it. I don't want to say that they've done nothing or anything like that, but you've heard from multiple NFL players that coaches don't really make you better in the NFL. Like they're not there to develop you. That's not really their job. And I think that the success that you've seen in the passing game so far, and which, by the way, I mean, it's not great success so far.
Right.
You know,
It's our
I
first
mean,
300-yard game.
yeah, we say that Lamar is looking great, but Lamar has, what is it, 3 interceptions so far through 4 games.
Yeah, 4
Um,
touchdowns, 3
you
interceptions.
know,
But
yeah,
but
Hollywood's dropped multiple touchdowns. Watkins has several drops and all that. So like,
I
it's
think
not like they're out there, blowing people away through the air, right?
yeah,
But
the wide receivers or pass catchers, because you include Andrews and Net. There's a lot of drops. They've had a
yeah,
lot of drops.
so I think that the improvement that you've seen is more down to those individual players getting better and starting to come into their primes a little bit. But like I said, yeah, I think that Keith Williams and T. Martin are certainly helping along with that. I don't know if
Yes,
we
yeah,
would give them the majority of the credit, but absolutely, we also said on the channel we love those hires at the time, right?
yes, yeah,
Anything that you think can help the pass catchers develop and get better, is a positive thing. It's just, from the
yeah.
outside looking in, you can't really say exactly how much.
Because you know what? Let's look. Honestly, even if they helped a little bit, that's a good thing, right? Even if they got marginally better, like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And they're still working with these guys. So no, I'm happy with the hires, man. I think that's a good move for sure. Right.
Yeah. But by that same token, they are a more talented group of pass catchers this year, right?
Yes.
Hollywood, he's looked better so far this year than he had to start other years.
And healthy.
And Sammy Watkins is a much better receiver than Miles Boykin or Willie Snead or Michael Crabtree, right? So I mean, it's a combination of everything. Seth Roberts. Yeah. It's a combination of everything for sure. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, as is always the case in the NFL, this is always the case 100% of the time, and don't let anybody tell you different. The biggest thing is always the talent.
Yes.
Because look no further than the New England Patriots for that. The other thing that came out of this game, Baltimore tied the all-time record for consecutive 100-yard rushing games at 42. It's with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So obviously they're going to be breaking that next week. Sucks to be the Steelers, blah, blah, blah. But the way they got that was they were up 23-7. Denver was deep in the red zone with just a few seconds left in the game and decided, we need to score because we want to lose 23-14 instead of 23-7. Drew Lock threw an interception to Anthony Averett. Baltimore gets the ball back, 3 seconds left, and they don't kneel. They let Lamar run a little kind of QB sweep, pick up 5 yards to get over 100. Denver, Vic Fangio, some of the players, and people all over social media were very, very unhappy about that.
Vic Fangio was so offended. How could you disrespect the sport like this? This is such Bush League. That's not how the game is played. Well, unless we do it, that's different when we're because not only did they try to go down there to score, they called a timeout. They used all 3 of their timeouts to try to get in that end zone. Right. So it's fine when you did it, and I love John Harbaugh's response. I love his response. He said, "Hey, look, I didn't know there was a 16-point play, out there that you could make because other than that, 10 seconds left, you're not winning the game. Like you weren't trying to win.
Them trying to score had nothing to do with winning.
Nothing. And in fact, I would argue what the Ravens are trying to do was way more important than what they're trying to do. Yeah. Right? I heard them on the radio say, "Oh, they're trying to get reps for Drew Lock." Well, Drew Lock ain't a rookie. You know what Drew Lock can do.
Drew Lock had plenty of reps. That's why Teddy Bridgewater is in Denver to begin with.
Drew Lock
has had a lot of reps.
He had the whole second half. He didn't get his reps.
I'm just talking about the last couple of years. Yeah, he's had a ton of reps, and Denver did not like those reps. That's why Teddy Bridgewater is in Denver. That's why Teddy Bridgewater is the starting quarterback in Denver. Yeah. But this comes down to like, if you don't want them to do it, then don't give them the ball back. If you don't want him to get the 100 yards, tackle Lamar before he gets to 5 yards. Like, just stop.
Because that's what it's really about, right? Like, you knew that they had a record that they're trying to go for. You wanted to stop it, and you did. And if you wanted to keep it that way, take the knee, right? End the game.
Or hand the ball off, do whatever. Don't let Drew Lock throw the ball into coverage. Certainly don't do that.
Right. Your ego got in the way. That's what happened, Vic Fangio. Your ego got in the way. Your butt hurt about it. And this is why you gotta take a minute before you talk to the media right after the game, because your emotions are still high, and they got the look. I bet you right now Vic Fangio wishes he could take it back. Right. I think it's one of those things where he just mad at the time, and emotions flared up, and he said something that he probably wouldn't say again.
Yeah, and I would honestly hope that every coach would do that for their team. I don't like coaches who say, "Hey, this player or this team has a milestone coming up, but the game's over, so let's kneel." No, man, go get it. Like,
Yes.
who cares? Who cares if Vic Fangio is upset for a couple of days? Like, nobody's going to remember that. You're going to remember that the Baltimore Ravens had 100 rushing yards in 43 straight games, though, when they get that next week. You're going to remember a player, or at least that player will. They're going to remember if they went for like 2,000 yards in a season. Like, if you're within striking distance of that, you have to let the players go for it. That is something that is going to matter to them. It's going to matter to the fan base for a very long time, and nobody gives a damn if you kneel. Nobody cares about sportsmanship except a couple people on Twitter who are gonna get off their takes. They're gonna get off those takes anyway. It'll just be about something else. Like Lamar, right? It's been, he can't throw, and he's been throwing great the last couple of weeks. So now I log on Twitter. What do I see? Yeah, he can throw. He can't read the defense though. It's always gonna be something.
Like, right? Yeah, but they're wide open. That's
you're not gonna please those people, so don't try.
Right. Just play your game. And the whole, don't give them, poster board material and all that stuff. That's an old cliche, right? That comes from the old book of cliches, right? Like, I remember when the Giants played the Patriots, the undefeated Patriots, in the Super Bowl. All right. And leading up to that week, I can't remember who it was. It was a Plaxico or one of them. They asked him what the score prediction was, and he's like, I don't know. And they just pressed him for a score, and he's just like, 17-10 or something like that, something low scoring. And Tom Brady did not like that answer. Right? Oh, we're only going to score 10 points or 13 points, whatever it was.
He called 17-14, and that's what it was.
Yeah,
so, yeah. He called that before the game. He's like, "Oh, we're only going to score 14." Okay.
Yeah.
14 points.
Yeah, they didn't like that, but I remember Michael Strahan's response to it. Right? He's like, "Oh, I guess we should be scared. They're really going to play hard now, huh?" Right? Like, it's the like.
I'm so angry.
Yeah,
now I'm really going to try.
Like, I mean, of course they're going to play hard. Like, if a couple of words or some little slight really set you up, oh, now I'm going to play. Like, no, that's not how it works. So,
and guess what? You got them angry and they scored 14 points. So
yeah. So, I mean, all that to say is, look, so what, man? Like what are you gonna do about it other than just take that L and move on? If you get to the playoffs, we'll see you in the playoffs. It's fine. Like, I mean, you're gonna whether we did it or not, you're gonna play hard when you saw us again anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So it's silly. Denver's upset because they got dominated. Denver's upset because their quarterback got knocked out of the game. Denver's upset because it kind of looked like, hey, maybe they're not really the 3-0 team that we all thought they were, but now they got to answer a bunch of questions, and they, doubt creeps in a little bit and all that. That's what you're mad about. You're not mad that Baltimore ran for 100 yards.
Right. And if I'm the Broncos, I wouldn't even be that upset about it because, like you said, Teddy Bridgewater went out the game. And I know a lot of people look at Teddy Bridgewater as just a game manager, average quarterback. He's way better than Drew Lock.
Yeah.
He's way better than Drew Lock. And yes, they were down when he went out, right? It didn't look like that they were going to really mount a comeback, but they weren't getting blown out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't take anything away from that game. Hey, we lost to a good team. It is what it is. It's one loss. Right.
And also, listen, one, you should be more concerned about getting beat down during the sporting portion of the event, I guess we can call it, since the game was over. But you know what else you should be upset about? How about you be upset that your defense tried to rip Le'Veon Bell's head off? How about you be upset that they hit Lamar Jackson late?
Cheap shot on him.
You've got more things to worry about than whether or not Baltimore ran for 100 yards.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, Vic Fangio, go cry about it.
Yeah.
You know, cry about it, get a good
More,
cry.
I guess.
Yeah, get a good cry out, let it all out, and then move on to next week.